So let's go ahead and talk about relations in Notion and what I consider the final boss of relations and something that you definitely need to know as a power user, which is going to be a cross-referential table. So say I have something like students and I have something like courses. This is going to automatically be a many-to-many relationship in Notion, which means you can link as many in either direction, right? But what you can't do is kind of understand a little bit more about these individual relationships because they're going to be many to many relationships. So I'll have maybe 10 courses listed under each student, and I'm going to have at least 10 students listed under each course. That means if I want personal information like the grades of a student or the amount of assignments that are due for that specific student, I'm not going to be able to define that in a many to many relationship. So what I'm going to use instead is something called a cross-referential table. Now let's take a look at what that looks like, right? So we have student A and we have student B down here, and we could have something like course 1 and course 2. In that many-to-many relationship that we talked about earlier, we have student 1, student 2, course A, course B. I mixed up the names, but these guys are going to be linked to each other, and we're going to have something like this. So we already know that student A and course 1 are going to be linked to each other, right? And this is a two-way relationship. But what we don't know is any information about that relationship. So what we can do is also create a secondary relationship to something called a cross-referential table. And these are going to be one-to-one relationship. So each line in this table is only going to have one student and one course associated with it. And we're going to create that for every single person that we want to have some type of grade in a specific course, right? And when we use this, we can go ahead and have lots of information about these specific relationships listed in this cross-referential table. And I can add as many properties as I want to the cross-referential table to allow for that further information gathering to happen about this specific property. So if I want, I could have grades over here. I could have assignments over here. I could have anything that you can think of that's unique to a student-course relationship. So when you took a course or when you were in a class, what was specific stuff that your teacher had to send down the line to you through this cross-referential table? Let's say we have two databases, or what you would call a table in traditional databasing. We have one for students, and then we have one for courses, right? And I'm going to go ahead and relate students to courses, and it's going to be a many-to-many relationship already, right? So it's going to be no limit either way, right? Right? And students should be able to be taking multiple courses, but somewhere we want to store their grade, right? So if I have all of these students, right, so say this is Biology 101, and our student is named Mark Twain, right? So we have a new Mark Twain here. Where am I going to store his grade, right? So if I go ahead and put a number property here, and I say grades, that's going to be like, say he gets a 90 on his exam. But then I have another student who also goes here called John Doe, right? And we're going to add him. This grade doesn't correspond to, who does this grade correspond to? That's like the general concept of a cross-referential table or something like that, right? So we have a many-to-many relationship, and we want to be able to turn that into a many-to-many relationship where there is some type of reference. Each one of these relationships has some type of information associated with. So this is quick and easy. It's going to be useful in a lot of different situations, but I can't necessarily tell you what use cases you might have. But let's go ahead and create something called the grades table, right? So this makes sense in this specific case. That is not what I wanted. In this case, it makes sense to call it grades, right? So we can have a lot of different things in this table. So I'm going to actually call it the student course cross-reference, right? But this is basically going to be a log, right? It's going to be a log between each student and each class. It's going to tell us more about that relationship. So now I'm going to call this all records, and instead of relating students and courses to each other, we're going to relate them both to this table. So I'm going to say relation, relate to courses. It's going to be a many-to-many relationship, and we're going to say course log, and then, or actually I'm going to say cross-reference log, right? And then we're going to do the same thing on students, and we're going to relate it. Honestly, I could just edit this, change it to the cross-reference one, and this is going to be student, and towards here, so let me go ahead and continue, right? So this is going to be, again, that CR log property, and we're going to show it on all of them, right? So we have CR log, right? There's nothing in here, and then there's going to be the cross-reference table where we have courses and students. On both of these, it should just be one course to one student, right? And this should be limited to one. So here, since it's limited to one, it's going to be limited to just information about that record. So on this page, it makes sense for me to add that grade value. And now it's like, for example, we can have the name, so we can, these actually don't need any names because you're going to get all the information you need from the courses and from the grades, or from the courses and the students. So we have Mark Twain in Bio 101 got a 90, right? And in Bio 101, John Doe got a 83, right? So now we have this information about these students and what they got in those different classes, and you can tell that all from this student course cross-reference table, right? So what this is doing is essentially allowing you to get information about those individual many-to-many relationships, right? All right. So now that I have all this information, I'm going to actually start pulling it into, this needs to be deleted because we don't want this, but I'm going to start pulling it into courses, and I'm going to start pulling it into, this should not be here. I'm going to start pulling it into students so that we can actually use this information to our advantage, right? So the first thing we're going to do is, I don't like using roll-ups, so I'm going to go ahead and start with the formula. I'm going to say grades, right? And what we're going to do is we are going to take a map, and we are going to map the, oh, what did I just do? Oh, is this not shown both ways? Okay, never mind. So this should be called course log, or CR log, right? And here, now we should be able to see, okay, yeah. So for every page that's related to me, I want to get the name of the, so CR log, and I'm going to get the name of the course, so current dot course, right? And we want the name of that. Current dot course, and I'm going to add the grade here, right? So I'm going to say current dot course plus current dot grade, right? So then I can add some text formatting here, and we can see that we could also format this as well. So we could just format this to text so it doesn't actually have a linkage. And if you want linkage, yeah. And then we could add grade in, right? Something like that. And we could have like this, so grade in Bio 101, and then we should add that, and then we can get 83 here, right? Their course, Chem 101, right? And then we're going to say this student got a 76 in there, right? So let's go ahead and see what that looks like inside students. Grade in Bio 101, grade in Chem 101, like that. Now, the last thing I want to do is create an easy way for us to be able to add them in without having to access the back end here. So the first thing I'm going to do is you have to link courses to students to be able to assign students to courses, right? And this is different than the grade. This is just a relationship of many to many where all the students are in different courses and all the courses have a bunch of different students, right? There is also, on top of that, the CR log over here, which has the course student linkage. So the first thing I'm going to do is something I like to call an alert, where I like to make sure that this student is actually in this course before we give them a grade. And it's just a way to have some type of logging capability in Notion. So I'm going to show you how I go ahead and do that. All right, so the first thing that, or the only thing that we really have to do is check map course dot course current dot students, and then we are going to check if this contains our student. All right, and this should work. Okay, so all of these courses contain their respective students, even the empty one. And let's try breaking this and making sure that it does work. So, okay, yeah. So I'm going to try doing Chem 101 and John Doe. Okay, and it's false, right? So now I'm going to use this to make my if statement and just give myself a real alert. So if this is true, then we should have nothing here. And then alert student not in course. And then we're going to close it. Okay, great. So we have something like that. And then this doesn't make sense, so we're going to go ahead and delete this, right? And also, we're going to use this to our advantage. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a template for these courses where we can give students grades, right? So if we're going to give them grades, it should be a linked database view of the log template, right? And then we're going to hide this. And this should be grades. And I don't want to see the name. I can't not see the name. Okay, I'm going to hide the name as much as possible. And we're going to go ahead and just remove this because this is going to be based on this course, right? So we don't need to see this, and we're going to filter so that the course is this page right here. And then actually let me deselect this for now just so I can see what's going on. Alert, we want to be alerted, and if the alert is true, then this should not be the case, right? And we should be good to go, and then we're going to go filter this to this. All right, so now let's go ahead and apply that template and see what we can do. All right, so I'm going to delete this, and I'm going to say new page. All right, so we see that we have Mark Twain, we have an alert, and we have the name for it. So how we're going to assign grades is we have this students and courses link right here. So we're going to go ahead and open up the course, right? And then we are going to add a new page and then just assign the grade, right? So another alert that I just thought that we might need here is going to be if there's multiple grades for the same class, right? So let's see if this contains duplicates. Unique. Okay, so check if unique CR log equals CR log. Okay, so what this does is it just makes sure that it's unique, right? So if we double this guy, oh wait, no. Let's map it. So CR log will always be unique, but CR log dot class might not be unique, which is why we need to do it like this. Okay, so this is true, and then we are going to add a log here. So I'm going to go into Biology 101, and let's see, I'm going to add another grade for Mark, right? So we're going to say Mark, we're going to say 91, right? That way we can see that, oh no, this isn't necessarily correct, and we need to create the alert here. So if this is true, then empty, it's false, alert, multiple grades for same student. You don't have to be this robust, so we can go ahead and make sure that that's correct. And then another thing we can do is also give the grades to the students. So say we have something like database, we have students course, hide this, and maybe we'll do a gallery view, you know, I don't know. Hide, and then, oh yeah, these don't have names actually. So maybe I will just show page content and then get rid of the names. No. Okay, great. So we can just show course and then grade, and then make sure it's small. See, the problem is, I wish there was a way, yeah, because this will automatically, ugh, that's annoying. Okay, I guess, I don't know. Okay, so anyway, we have this. This is like an okay view, and then we want to make sure it's the correct student. And then we're going to just say all grades, right? This I wouldn't do if it was an actual student that actually had access to this page, because then they could just click into these, but yeah, it doesn't really matter right now. All right, and then we have finally this area right here. I'm going to update this to a gallery, so I'm going to do linked, I'm going to do gallery, let me see, I'm going to do students, and I'm going to do a gallery, and I'm going to hide this, I'm going to hide the card preview, and then all I'm going to show is our grades, right? And then I'm also going to show the courses that they're in, right? And then maybe alert, actually. So I just have a general overview, maybe courses on top. Okay, this isn't bad. Okay, and then we have all students over here. So here you can just mass assign students to courses, and then down here I'm going to do something for courses to add new courses. So do I also want this to be a gallery? Maybe we'll just make a list. Yeah, I guess that works. Oh, okay, wait, I know what I'm going to do. Okay, do I need any information for this? Students. Okay, we'll do a roll-up of the students for courses. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put students down here, and I'm going to put courses over here, and we are going to put students in those courses to the left over here, right? So we can add new courses, psych view, no, psych, it's probably just psychology. Jesus, I don't know, right? Sensei Woo. Oh my god, Lord Garmadon. Wait. How do you spell Garmadon? Lloyd. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna say Sensei Woo and Lloyd are gonna be in psychology together, and maybe Garmadon is gonna be in chemistry, right? So we have all the students, we have all the classes that they're in. Obviously they don't have grades for the classes, and we have an alert for Mark Twain. So Mark Twain, we have an alert for biology, because he's in biology twice, so I'm going to go ahead, open up biology, and we are going to delete one of his grades. Okay, I'm going to do one more alert, and I'm going to do one more, just a roll-up. Actually, I don't know, I don't like roll-ups, so I'm just going to do a formula, count students, and because I actually want text with it, so I'm just going to say length students, and we're going to say plus students, Maybe I want it as not this. Okay, maybe I lied and I do want it as just a number. So 2 students, and then we can just make it like one of these out of 100, I guess. Okay. Cool. And then the final thing I wanted to do is also do an alert for alert, and we're going to make sure that there's not duplicates again. So, okay. CR log map to current dot student should equal map CR log current dot student. There we go. This save. This is wrong. So what are we gonna do? We're gonna say if we're gonna say alert student given multiple grades. Which, like, again, this makes sense in a certain use case, but not for this use case. So we are gonna keep those alerts up there, and we're gonna make sure that we're auditing our workspace as we need to. It makes sense in the case that, say, someone retook the class, then they would be able to do that, but again, if we had a semester capability, we could say this certain person retook the class. It makes sense for our use case, but in this case, I want there to be an alert for this specific thing, right? Great, so multiple grades for same student given multiple grades, so we can fix that here. We can go here, we could say, no, this guy did not get a 98, and there we go, fix that. And I would have just made a delete button, but yeah, that should be everything that you need to do. Let's also do a final example of grading somebody. So we want to give Sensei Wu 200%, right? For psychology. I don't know. That's not a good example, but we're going to go ahead and apply that template psychology, make sure it's default so I don't have to keep doing this. Okay, and then I'm also going to sort this by grades. You can say new student, Sensei Wu, should get 36, right? And now Sensei Wu has a 36 in psychology. Or we could even do something like formula GPA. Right now, it's just going to be based off of the grades, but I know GPA is not calculated in this specific way. We're gonna do CR log dot. Okay, I need to map things. Alright, and we're gonna ring it out of 100 and make it gray. Okay, and we'll sort by, in this case, GPA descending. So our best student is John. GPA is going to be ta-da, GPA. Right? Great. So yeah, this is just an example of how you can use logging to your advantage and give properties to many relations. Yeah, that's everything we got here. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please make sure to like the video and also subscribe